So this might tick a bunch of people off, but it appears that I have been influencing people to go on social media sites to read forums about avoidant personality disorder. And in a nutshell, I wanted to warn people about some of the pitfalls and bad things that can happen when you run into those forums, because of course I'm avoidant, and therefore I'm feeling responsible for everything that ever existed in the history of the universe, including if somebody has seen one of my videos and decided to go look something up and then ended up getting burned. Most of the people that are on those forums are not actually avoidant. Most of the people aren't diagnosed. A bunch of people have traits, and a lot of people... See, this seems kind of obnoxious the way I'm saying this, but I mean, I've said it over and over again. You can't sort of have any objectivity when looking at these things, and people just... They can't get outside of themselves, and they think that whatever's going on with them is so awful and so horrible, and there's no way that anybody else could have it worse. And so what happens is people start talking about their avoidance when they don't actually have avoidant personality disorder, and it can get really confusing and can really throw people off. And so if you're going to go on those sites, I can't recommend strongly enough that you make sure that you know who you're talking to, because it could almost be a diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder that they deny their diagnosis when they first get it and reject it and go looking for some other better thing other than borderline. So avoidance forums are swarming with people who say they're avoidant because they are not accepting their borderline personality disorder diagnosis and symptoms. And the problem with them is that they're untreated. Treated borderlines can be some fantastic, great people. They can be so in tune to how other people perceive them and go out of their way to really, pay attention to how they're interacting with people and make it a really very good experience. But untreated borderlines, oh my goodness, are a scary group. So that's one of the reasons why people do this. The other is, and the other, like I said, is that they don't realize what their what their symptoms mean in relation to people with actual full-blown avoidant personality disorder. And so they don't really, give good advice in a nutshell. They give advice that's great for them, but not for somebody who's actually avoidant. And it can sound like there are standards that avoidant people should be making and doing, and they aren't. And people blame themselves for it. They go, gosh, I'm not even a good enough avoidant. I'm not a good enough person, and I'm not a good enough avoidant. And the reason they think this is because they're seeing stuff that's not actually accurate. I mean, for example, I read one today that said somebody who was like, well, when I initiate a social gathering with people, after I've done that, as soon as I put out the invitation, I really kind of wish that I could cancel it. And I'm sitting there going, what? I sat there literally and counted back. Now, okay, I'm a girl. This other person who was posting is a girl too, though. I know that guys, y'all have your own evil kettle of fish to deal with, because guys are expected to initiate dates. So guys probably have much higher sort of experience level of initiating social events than girls. But my personal experience, I went back and really paid attention and looked. It has been 25 years since I asked somebody to go have a drink with me. That's a long time. Avoidant people don't do that. So if you read something like this and it seems like, oh my God, I can't believe they can do that and I can't, chances are you're not dealing with someone who's really avoidant. And so don't try to attack yourself and judge yourself based on, well, if this person can do this, how come I can't do it either? They can do that because they're not actually avoidant. And they you know, I understand the all-inclusive, we're not going to discriminate anybody policies of these sites. And that's fabulous. Except that the problem is that then you get people who are not avoidant, and they're giving this advice and information that has absolutely no way to apply to an avoidant person. And then and the other thing is that, again, this is kind of judgy, and oh well. I mean, the problem is that they're usually pretty selfish about it. Is that they think that their problems are equal in magnitude to somebody who actually has a full-blown personality disorder. And I'm sorry, but you don't. And I'm also like cheerleading for you, because that's fantastic that you don't have these problems that are so extreme, you know. And I understand how painful that could feel, that, oh, I made an appointment with somebody and we're supposed to go get coffee, but it's anxiety provoking and stressful to me. But you're forgetting that you felt confident enough and safe enough with somebody to initiate this contact. And avoidant people don't get that. They never get that. And, you know, and you had somebody that you could call. I don't know. No. I mean, in theory, I have relatives that I could get in touch with and call one of my cousins or something like that, and I would sooner, you know, put a lit match to my eyeball. No, I don't have people like that at all. So I'm sorry, I can't be sympathetic to that sort of situation, because you're not being sympathetic to a real avoidant, to be that selfish to put it out there. Now, why would people do this? You know, and the other thing that's a real problem is that there are people that target avoidance because they love attention. They need attention. They crave attention. This is why the borderlines show up so much. But also, you know, just general narcissistic and, you know, people that want attention. They will say, oh, I'm avoidant, I can relate to you, and then sort of go and try to collect friends. This happened to me when I first started researching this. And luckily, I didn't get sucked in, despite being wooed, by someone who's notorious for seeking attention. And I'm really glad for that. But I'm telling you, I was terribly confused, because if that's what it meant, this was somebody who said they were avoidant when in fact they weren't and aren't. And whatever. I mean, I understand, yes, you're ill, you have something going on with you. But it's a horribly selfish thing to try to come on to an avoidant site and bait avoidance into thinking that you're something that you're not, in order to, you know, get this attention hit. And people do it all the time. So that's the rant. And here's the suggestion. And again, I feel really guilty if anybody has actually gone onto these sites and run into these people, because again, the chances of actually seeing a real avoidant on an avoidant forum, I'll say 1 in 20. Seriously, it's that low. So if you see something and it doesn't quite jive with what you're, you know, the way you live your life, assume they're not avoidant. If you see something and it seems really interesting, don't take it at their word. Research people. Look up the people who have posted whatever that you're reading. Check their history. Go through and see all the rest of the posts that they've made. See where they post. I mean, and go back to the initial posts to see what the first couple things were that they posted, because again, it could be that they were in the borderline forum and then went, yikes, this is scaring me that there's this stereotype about borderline. Oh, okay, I'm not borderline, I'm avoidant. I'm going to post at the avoidance site. People do that all the time. So look into it. If you see a type of therapy that's been recommended, look and see what kind of therapy it's recommended for. It's really common for people to see borderline therapies, of which there are tons more than there are for avoidant people, and go, okay, well, it's a personality disorder. If it's good for one personality, it's good for another. I tried that. I did DBT, and it really set me back. I mean, it really set me back. Like, almost killed me, set me back. And I really hope that you don't go, oh, yay, there's this community where I can learn this information from and just absorb everything, because at least 90% of it is not going to apply. So don't beat yourself up over anything that you see on a forum, ever. I know that's really hard to do, and it's so easy to want to do that, but please don't. Please don't look at something that somebody says that they've done and assume that you should have to do it too. And of course, and I said it 900 times now, if you are self-diagnosing, go see somebody, because it could be something completely different. I mean, I know somebody who, this is really personal and it's not me, but I know somebody who thought they were OCD and insisted they were OCD, went to a doctor, and the doctor said, okay, you're anxious about that there's a possibility that you might do these things, but you've already done them in the past. So it's not that you have these thoughts that are unjustified. You've justified fears that you're going to repeat things that you've done in the past. You don't have OCD. You have, a problem with anger or whatever it was, and that's treatable, and we can teach you right now how to not do that, and give you practice lessons on how to not do that, as opposed to if they hadn't gone to the doctor and just thought they were OCD, they would have never gotten any guidance about how to not act that way that was so damaging to themselves and to other people. And they also would have wasted their life thinking they had something they didn't have. So that's my spiel. Thanks.